welcome to day 6 of the 30-day challenge SR. So what I want to talk about today a little bit is the 30-day challenges and entrepreneurship in general. Like, how do you approach a 30-day challenge? So the first thing you always want to do is go full out, all out, and completely overwork yourself. So the first key to actually properly doing a 30-day challenge, especially if you're doing a 30-day entrepreneurial challenge, is not trying to do too much. Because people are like, yeah, when I'm gonna do a 30-day challenge, then I'm finally going to do everything that I always said I was going to do, but I'd leave it out. To be honest, if there are things that you're not really comfortable with, if there are things that you don't really like doing, the 30-day challenge is one of the worst times to actually try to push those things in. Of course, you can take 1 or 2 things that you say, like, I always wanted to do that, so I'm going to do that. But the 30-day challenge is a challenge in itself. So the 30-day challenge is not the right time to say, I'm going to get up at 6 in the morning every day, and I'm also going to do a workout every day, and I'm also going to eat healthy every day, and I'm also only going to drink water. It just won't work because you're completely going to overwork yourself. You can put in like elements saying like, okay, but I really do wanted to drink water as well. So you put that in and say like, I will drink 1.5 liters of water every day during the 30-day challenge, and put that as a side goal as well. But putting like 4 or 5 side goals in, aside from the challenge, and in this case also vlogging, it just won't work. Second rule that people really underestimate during challenges is you have to have a plan. For me, I'm already behind like 5 days on the plan that I originally had. But the funny thing is that every video that I've made so far is some way connected to the plan that I had in mind. So while I'm a little bit behind on what I really wanted to do with the vlog, it's really moving towards the ideal topics that I wanted to talk about, the daily routine that I wanted to have. And well, of course, sometimes like yesterday's vlog, I run into somebody that beforehand I didn't know I was going to meet, so that gives it automatically gives it an extra dimension. Another thing about challenges which I underestimate every time: storage. I mean, like, I'm currently shooting in 1080. I'm posting on YouTube in 720 in resolution, which is HD, but the lowest HD. I'm not even shooting 4K. I don't even have the camera to shoot 4K. I don't even have the equipment to edit 4K. But right now I'm running out of storage. So basically I spend every day deleting stuff. Yesterday I spent iMovie. I spent at least half an hour clearing out my history, clearing out projects, clearing out just old footage of vlogs that I made before. I just had to take everything out because my computer doesn't have that much space. So aside from the actual footage and actually the sound quality, there's always a storage problem. Always a storage problem. Another issue that I have is that I'm currently doing everything myself when it comes to the vlog. I'm filming, I'm editing, I'm doing the distribution, which is a little bit behind, by the way. But when you do everything yourself, it takes about 2 to 3 hours a day to get everything done. So those are in general things that I struggle with, or things that I do that give me a hard time. I would love to hear from you guys, not just the 30-day challenge SR people, because they comment a lot, they ask me a lot. We have a WhatsApp group, so we get most of the information. But I want to ask everybody that's watching, what are you currently struggling with? It doesn't have to be anything entrepreneurial. Just let me know in the comments below what is currently your ~1 struggle at the moment, and how are you going to fix it?
I'm here with my boy Jeanluc. Jeanluc, say hi.
Hi.
That was a weird hi. So we're all good. I'm set, ready to do this today. The guest speaker, social media style. So I think Jeanluc will give you some behind the scenes footage. Stay tuned. Bye bye.
There's one more thing I would like to discuss for today. A lot of people ask me why I do so much for youngsters and for young people and young professionals to young entrepreneurs to anybody who's interested in developing themselves as a teenager or as a young adult. And here's the thing. When I was a teenager, for instance, we didn't have Facebook, we didn't have YouTube, we didn't have any social media, didn't exist. I think Wikipedia was like not even a year old. So it's a very, very different generation that we grew up in. And for me, it kind of disturbed me that I really wanted to do something, but aside from my parents and a couple of people in the local society, I didn't really know anybody abroad who had similar interests as I have. And with the internet today, that's a lot easier. So for me, it's very important to look at the positive side of the internet, not only just through social media, but any form of internet. We can connect and we can come closer and we can find information that previously was very, very hard to find. And for me, that was very important because it also helps in the educational sense. Because additional education has become much easier. Like when you were a teenager in the 90s, when you were at home and your parents were working, you didn't really have a lot of options to educate yourself aside from books and games, which were often expensive. And right now, when you're 13, 14-year-old, 16-year-old, you can just go on the internet and find all the information you need. For me, additional education is very important. Not everybody learns through the school system. So we have to find ways to empower youngster children to develop themselves, to become the best version of themselves, to develop their interest, so they can make change in the world of tomorrow. So this is a very, very sensitive subject, because I'm not saying that the education system is completely broken, but I am saying that we as a society have to make sure that youngsters outside of school get the opportunity to get the best out of themselves and to educate themselves in a way that they like it and they really can get better. So that's why 3 years ago I started a program called Future Leaders and Entrepreneurs. And Future Leaders and Entrepreneurs is a 2-week program where 20 youngsters get the opportunities that I had as a teenager or as a young adult, that most of us in Suriname, they don't have it. So for 2 weeks, we bring these 20 youngsters between the age of 15 and 24. We bring them to different companies, just not only the big oil companies, but also the green companies, not just the tech companies, but also other sectors which are much less popular, which you can get a career in as well. The other thing that we do, we ask trainers who actually ask hundreds of dollars for a training session to give a free training of an hour to help them with leadership skills, development skills, and that's how we try to trigger them to get the most out of themselves. The last thing we do, we always connect them to a couple of sports coaches or professional sporters who actually had international experience and international success, to give them an idea to think bigger than just the borders of our country. So not because you are the best in your local area means that you really are good at what you do. So those things are the things that we try to use and motivate and stimulate youngsters to get the most out of themselves through the Future Leaders and Entrepreneurs program. Now, I'm not doing a sales pitch here. I'm just saying there are a couple of days left on apura.org. We're doing a crowdfunding and we've done it every year. For the past 3 years, the crowdfunding for this project has financed the whole thing, covered the whole 2 weeks. It's not a big number, it's only around a little bit over $1,000, which will finance the complete program for 2 weeks for 20 youngsters in Suriname. So I would love for you to have a look at it and just to have an idea why I'm doing this and why I'm putting so much effort in the younger generation, and why I really, really believe that we should put our efforts to, instead of complain that they are on the internet so much, instead of complaining that they use their phone so much, give them the tools to make the most out of it. And that's what I wanted to say. Thank you. Tambo.
What up, guys? So today I'll be removing this from here for now.